Hi, hello. This is the latest episode of the EMG Podcast. It's currently just me and Babajide, the Lazio Manager from Mainworld. We are hoping that Neri Pack, the um, Barcelona, Kano Pillars, and Raja Casablanca manager will join at some point. He's just come in from work, I think, and then obviously I'm Greg, Real Madrid, Cape Town, Al Nassr and Cardiff manager. So I've managed too many teams in EMG. Obviously, um, today is the second episode after the last episode 3 weeks ago, and obviously there's been some quite big news that's come out regarding Soccer Manager in general. Not just Elite, but it'll affect all game worlds. Finally, we've had an update from them. But obviously, as well as there have been some events that have happened in the last 3 weeks um, since the last time we did this. So let's quickly go through it. So obviously, recently we had the first managers to be sacked. I think is probably the best word to say for inactivity. So those managers were Emakesh Fries, who was at Ajax for quite a bit of time. MEU, I can't say his real name because it's Emmanuel something, Uwe Begeli or something like that. And we also lost. He didn't get sacked because he quit, but technically, but that was Admir Jukovic, who was the Valencia manager for the last 9 months, was he, Gino, roughly? Um,
Yeah.
and also since this month, we've also lost long-time Everton manager Chika Homer, who quite in quite suspicious reasons. Um, Admins have tried to message him regarding it, but we've got no response. So something about Gift her brother telling her to quit, but we've got nothing else about it. So obviously, since then, Henry Bumiaki moved up from Division 4 to Main to take Valencia. And then, obviously, Fenzo took Roma, and Tom also took Ajax. And then, obviously, finally, Bojan moved from Rennes to Everton, um, obviously taking that team. And then, obviously, we had Tenoch take Crystal Palace because obviously Beatrice Braffy went from Crystal Palace to
Oh, Alorico.
Rennes.
Sorry, bro.
So and obviously, yep. So that was the movement, and then obviously recently, then we restarted Division 4 with some new teams, and then we've had some new managers, and we also had one manager that left, which was rejoined and then left, which is Daniel Roach, who was Young Boys. He joined, was there for about 10 days, 12 days, and then quit due to the group being too active, which makes me wonder why you joined the interactive world when you advise it's going to be active. So Harry Banty, who obviously we mentioned last month, who left the game world, rejoined with Young Boys, and obviously rejoined AFC Leopards in EMG Africa. Anything you want to mention regarding the managers that have left recently, Gido?
Not exactly, but I remember. I don't remember which manager in particular. I think that was Emmy. Emmy left because of the minimum
Yeah,
message. Yeah,
yeah,
so yeah, like I spoke about it the other day, and till date, I'm still not changing my stance on that. I don't think there should be a reason why managers will be leaving the game world for failing to reach 25 message counts if you are in the main game world, and 10. I mean, you basically have 30 days to reach those numbers. You don't have to chat daily. You could just speak about your club twice or three times in a week. You don't have to engage. You don't have to talk about.
mm,
You don't have to. like there are various things you could do in regards to your club right there in the group that's going to add to your message count. So yeah, I think that was the only story one. We don't know why TK had to leave,
Yeah,
but yeah, at least she's one of the female. I like to see our female managers being active. I think Pelkulia is the most active female manager we've got in the group. And aside
mm,
from that, I don't like losing female managers, but yeah, probably perhaps she's occupied with some one or two things on her hand. So hopefully we
yeah,
get to see her back soon. I mean, she wasn't doing so well with Everton in the first place, but still, you don't want to lose a good manager.
yeah.
But then,
Chike's been obviously been here since 2021. She is Gift's sister, and
yeah,
um, yeah, there is obviously I'm not going to mention in a podcast, but um, she has never been the most active communication wise. Bit like her brother, to a certain extent, and she's sort of a bit of a prickly individual where she's clashed with a lot of. She's always struggled, mainly being a lot of the time the only female in the group, and a lot of the guys have probably been a bit too borderline with her. But and obviously she wasn't in the group chat for quite a long time. After not the old Atletico Madrid manager Ninest made some inappropriate comments. But she's always seemed to clash with a lot of managers, a lot of
oh, okay.
long-term managers, and she's also been someone who's tried to rip you off a bit with a deal. So yeah, it's obviously suspicious why she's left, and we don't know exactly what's gone on. The admin team don't know exactly what's going on, but obviously it's not our business. I also as well
Yeah,
with
of
what's
course,
going on
of
in
course,
private
of course.
life with her and her brother. But yeah, obviously out of that, we obviously had Bojan move to Everton. Obviously, we all know is a top manager, and then obviously Tenoch, who's been pretty active in D4, done pretty well for himself. Just bought Rafinha today, actually, from Jay, which is really good for Palace. Though in all honesty, we would probably rather managers like Tenoch in main world than Chike, just for the activity wise and fairness of deals. Um, and then from that, I think I can't remember. Oh, it was Mikolo, I think, who took Galatasaray after Tenoch left. I should have checked first time. Hang on. It was it was um, Emma who was previously here. Emmanuel something. He calls himself Emma. Don't know why a man's going to call himself a lady's name, but or Prince as he is on SM. Um, he rejoined the game while taking Galatasaray. And obviously he's not the most active, but um, you know, he's back in Division Four for the time being. Obviously as well. Let's have a look what the next one is. We've had obviously we've also had some new managers join Division Four. Those are let's get their exact names. So they are obviously, we had Ben Lilly rejoin. He was at Olympiacos. We had Ahmed Mohamed from Egypt, take Sparta Prague. Doni, who was the old Crystal Palace manager for quite a while last year, he rejoined EMG to take Dinamo Zagreb. Obviously, mentioned previously, Young Boys were managed by Daniel Roach. He left. And then Godsent, or also known as Harry Banty, returned. Kiran Jacob, who was in for it. Jurgen Klopp's top of the Klopp's and EMG Africa. He's moved to Main World EMG. Michael Awolabi, he's taken Gothenburg. He's a friend of Bami's. And then obviously Club Brugge were taken by Moshe Danan. There's a guy's messaged me on and off the last year to join EMG. Obviously gets his chance now. Roshan Roy, who's in EMG Maina, recently won the Winners' Cup a few back in March with Al Shabab Al Dubai. He's joined Main World, six Shakhtar Donetsk. So Joe's rejoined the EMG. He actually joined before the last podcast. Obviously, Corey Joe's quite a character, long-term member of EMG. Had a 9-month hiatus, but he's back. He's at Red Star. Sammy Jose Crown is at Rangers, and Prince is at Galatasaray. Anyone out of those you think could be moving to main world soon? Do you think?
I think you practically said it all. Those, I think that's all. You had it covered already. So we just have
Yeah,
to wait and see how the next few weeks turns out with the activity and all.
yeah. What I will say is obviously I do review the stats roughly every 5 days, especially coming towards the end of the month now. It'd be more and more. There's a group in Division 4 which are very active, mainly Ben, Joe, Harry Banty, Kiran, um, and then
Peculiar.
obviously
Peculiar is also active as
and
well.
Peculiar as well. Yeah, we don't forget. We mustn't forget Peculiar. I think she would be very happy if we got her. And then there's a group that are not so active, and it's some of them would be touch and go actually to keep their clubs in June at the start of June because they aren't active, not even making 10 messages, which is a bit worrying. Um, Also, as well, there's a couple of guys in main world that are going to be at risk. And what I will say is, I'm not going to name names, but there's some guys who have been here a long time who may not be here much longer if they don't up their game, which is going to be that's going to be an interesting one when having to tell someone who's been here since for 2 3 years you've not met messages. You're going to have to go to Division 4 potentially. But yeah, obviously. If we look at the league tables, obviously Red and PSG are currently top of Division One. Both played each other in the week, drew uh, 1-1, and obviously they sit 5 points ahead of Man City and Gladbach, who are both having really surprising and good seasons. Um, Lille, Lazio, Milan currently occupy the bottom three in Division One. Hopefully, I think Gide will probably he's not you're not in good form at all, are you? You probably want him to turn your form around sooner than later. Then in Division Two, Porto and Inter sit in the top two. Both teams, I mean, Inter seem to yo-yo every year, like Norwich in this game, but and then obviously Porto. Um, I don't want to say surprise package, but they're sort of doing pretty well. Um, a lot better than usual. And then obviously the bottom three is Man U, Roma, and Monaco. Two of those teams just come up from Division Three. Looks like they're going to go back down. And then finally, Division Three, Tottenham and Juventus are in the top two. Um, Juve, is this the year to go up, or do they find a way to throw it away? Or and Tottenham seems like that young, very young team that Lee Beaumont's built. It looks like it's going to. This is the year they get promoted, and obviously the ratings. They're going to get some lovely green arrows. Obviously, Division Four. That's currently topped by Red Star actually. So Joe is just ahead of Jay Jones at Senate. Obviously, Duncan gets to manage in D4. So yeah, and then obviously myself and Nicolo or Michael Olawabi at Gothenburg are in the both bottom on 0 points, and Fizz is on one. So yeah, I think me and Fizz were not even Division Four standard by the looks of it. Um, and then obviously major deals in main world. Um, Obviously there's not been too many deals recently. Obviously the main one today was Rafinha has finally been sold by Jay. He's headed to Palace for Mudryk and Manu Kone. That's I think that was a deal. Jay wanted to do a Ritty, but just couldn't get the deal done. Um, but obviously, with the change of management at Rennes, with Ritty going to Rennes and Tenoch going to Palace, I think Tenoch just took the deal and moved on. Obviously, another deal here. Yunus Musa has obviously gone to Tottenham. Still with Bilal El Khanous going to Everton. So obviously, Bojan's been doing some business, and then obviously Milan signed Stefan Bajcetic, who Gift says is starting right back. I think having a 90 rated right back in Division One is gonna end up in some tears. Is there any deals you've seen recently that's you thought were quite interesting, Gino?
I think about the manager who just took over, I would be very interested in seeing what happens with Everton under new manager. Like, I mean, Everton has been in Division 3 for a long, long time. It's about time they start moving up the ranks.
Yeah.
Then we see Crystal Palace. I mean, it's not one of the best squads in the division,
Mm.
but that's practically why it's a new manager taking over. We see what Stenos can do with the new team is taking over from Division 4. We see the direction is going to do. See if we can manage to do the unthinkable, bringing them up
Mm.
along the table. I think Crystal Palace is fair enough to compete with team. It's a fair mid-table fight for Crystal Palace in Division 3. And look at the competition is hard to deal with as well. So I think those
Mm.
two clubs will be very interesting to see how they come. And then, of course, definitely Ojanu leaving stage range. I want to see how Rennes turns out in the absence of of their super manager for the past that's 2 3 years now, 2 3 seasons rather. Excuse me. And he doesn't have a Messi this time around. So we see what the new manager is going to do. I think 3-2 is the new manager for Rennes, right? So we
Yeah.
see how long they stay in the fight. See if he's going to continue the tradition of winning the fourth league title in a row for them, or if they actually face that drawback that was
Mm.
bound to happen eventually, regardless of who was managing them. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think they are going to be very interesting for us to see new managers taking over this season.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what Ritty does. Obviously, he did really well with Palace, but obviously, Division One is a different kettle of fish in any game world, especially when you're managing the three-time Division One champions. Obviously, it's there's a different quality level at the Division One end.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, we both
exactly.
know. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can do what he did at Palace with Ren, or if he then ends up going and maybe falling off, and then obviously. Um, you know, maybe having a couple of years where a bit of stagnation and not competing towards the top. We'll only have to wait and see. But he does have Kevin De Bruyne, which I'm a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
player.
yeah. That's true, right?
He has a he's I think he's got Odegaard as well. He's got he's got a very good team. So he's
It's a
got
very strong team actually.
he's got a 96, a 95, and a 94. They're all over 30, but they're still high ratings. So but there's a couple of youngsters there that could rise. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with them with under him and what he does. Obviously, he he isn't really he'll buy youngsters, but he isn't afraid to get an older rated if he needs it. So it is going to be interesting to see what he does. Okay, so next one is get the right thing. Um, Obviously, first topic, and obviously it is going to be the main topic probably today, is the obviously announcement that Soccer Manager made, or Invincible Games, the parent company of the game, made on. Was it Thursday they dropped the announcement, or was it Wednesday? It was one of those days.
I
Um,
think that was Wednesday. Yeah.
yeah. So
No, Thursday
obviously,
actually.
yeah, Thursday. I thought so. So obviously they
Thursday.
made the announcement that um, we had been waiting for 8 years since the last announcement, even though they made an announcement in 2015 that it was a upgrade.
Then I mean they did raise a storm with the new announcement, right?
Yeah, so obviously the announcement was Soccer Manager Worlds was the very first game this company ever made, and in 2025 it will be 20 years old. That means it will be 20 years since four of us, all still with the company, started up a game studio in our dad's garage. Without much of an idea where we were going, other than we thought we had a great concept and an authentic, fun social football game that you would play with your friends. In the end, it proved more popular than we could ever believed. We still really believe in the simple concept, and many of us at the studio will still play Worlds and compete against each other. We still attend Worlds meetup with fans of the game, and we're really proud of the fact that people still love to play the game after all these years. Its legacy is important to us, and so is its future. The current situation with Worlds is that whilst it remains a popular game, it does not make money, which is a big point. Indeed, it has been a loss making for many years. This has meant that we have been not been able to deploy the required resources to develop and maintain the game as we have wanted to. Whilst we sustained this for a period of years, with the recent increase of costs in all sorts of areas, it makes the game's future increasingly uncertain, and so we have been putting some thought into how we address that and protect the game's future. Our ultimate goal is to redevelop the game and ensure its future for another 20 years. There is clearly an amount of work required to bring Worlds up to modern standards. We have our own ideas of what this work is, mainly based on the conversations we have had with users, but we will also want to ensure that we retain a strong sense of community in the game, and consequently, we will ensure that the redevelopment is led by votes from our cold managers. And then they've obviously there's a little thing here about what feature you'd like us to work on next, and 57% of people, and I think a lot of people believe this because you probably wouldn't know this because you never played it, but this game does generally feel like Championship Manager with the graphics, and that game was popular in the 90s and early noughties. So, and we're in 2024 now, so it needs to be modernized. I think we can both agree on that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll post a list of potential fixes and development areas, and you'll be able to up or downvote them accordingly. We'll fix and resolve the highest priority issues first, as issued voted by gold managers. So that's me. We're in a good position to do this, as the majority of the original development team still work in the company. A big change we will also make is to let the gold managers drive the direction of the game. Gold management will mean that you will have your say and vote on any changes to the game and decide on what we developers work on next. Our approach to redevelop the world's discuss does, of course, need to have commercial considerations too. We believe the best way to do this is to create a subscription based model to the game, essentially preserving full access to the game for the gold managers, only adding in extra benefits now and over time. Free to play users would still be welcome to play, but, and this is a big but, their access to certain features would be limited. Our intention is for the price for Worlds to be similar to the current 1 year gold management. So anyone who doesn't know that, it's £20 in the UK, or it's 6,280 naira in Nigeria, which for people who live in the UK is the equivalent to £3.50. I don't know how much it is in rupees or euros. I think it's about $26 in America, in dollars. So by the looks of what they've announced, free managers who aren't gold, they would only be able to manage club and pick team formation. For some managers, that's probably a good thing with some of their questionable deals, but obviously, um, it does take a massive part of the game away if you're unable to sign players, um, and be able to, improve your team, especially if you're at a smaller club. Um, and then obviously they've mentioned below here is once we have consulted on these proposals with the community, we would set a date to enact the changes below. Below is a diagram of our outline plan for the sequencing project we are proposing. So they've obviously put a 5 point plan to get this in. And then finally, we believe this will put the game into a ensure it's viable, enable us to deploy dedicated resources to start to redevelop the game, fixing current issues, and believe in new features that the gold managers want to see. The alternative is not proceeding with the plan and could lead to us ultimately having to call time on SM Worlds. None of us want that to happen. Something as a studio desperately do not want to do. We think this plan would give existing players a far better experience than they currently have, secure the game's future, and also grow it for new users and fill up game worlds. We anticipate that the subscription model would also assist in maintaining user activity and reduce multiple account issues such as player cheating, trading, loopholes. So no people like Baby or anyone breaking rules and all those, you know, people I've had in public game worlds. Arbi Bislimi, Ken Shavi. Some people who probably listen to this podcast know who they are. Just being a certain swear word. In the first instance, we're really testing the water with this idea. We're ready to make it happen. If you, the community, want to do it, please join the discussion or give feedback below. And then obviously below, they've obviously attached Google form for managers to give feedback and discuss their opinions. I do highly advise anyone in EMG or anyone who plays SM listens to this, it's mainly going to be EMG, to vote on it because obviously for the future of the game, it's really important. Gide, is there anything that specific from the announcement that you've noticed?
No, not exactly. I mean, for someone who fell in love with the game about 4 years ago, I'm really looking forward to seeing the enhanced engine. Like, I mean, the game looks like it's been long overdue for an update for real. But then, I think the only part of the whole announcement that has made managers disgruntled has been the parts where it practically looks like we are being manipulated into all becoming gold managers. Because there's no point in managing a club where you don't have the authority to make transfers for the team. So, I mean, what are you doing in charge of the club then? And it's not
Yeah,
like the chairman of the club will get you those players and all. No, we don't know how soon the update will that's taking place. We don't know how effective it's going to be. But I think I'm ready to put my money on it. A fair share of the managers would be interested in making that subscription because SM World has actually grown to become more than just a cage for lots of managers right now. So I mean, I think we don't have much of a choice than to dance to their tunes eventually.
yeah,
But for the good of the game, it is going to be interesting to see what updates they will be coming up with. And now the managers will be interested in the direction of the game world, of the game in particular. We'll see how much invested in terms of player transfers or deals, or how the game is being managed totally. I think we'll be interested to see how it all ends up.
yeah. Obviously, I've been quite active on. Obviously, I'm quite active in the Soccer Manager fans forum, which is basically the replacement for the old SM forum blog. But also as well, I recently rejoined the SM, the Invincible Games. I don't actually know what it's officially called. The Invincible Games Discord server, which is mainly for Soccer Manager 24, the shit, the crap, you know, free to play shitty football manager game. But also as well, they do have an SM Worlds part, which isn't very active until Thursday. And interestingly, one of the original developers and one of the key guys working on the game, Stephen Gore, he messaged the group to get some feedback and discuss with people. And he put this interestingly about, and he was this is from his view of being a player, not the actual guy who made SM, the owner. I'll give a little backstory, and this is what he put. I'll give a little backstory. Many moons ago, my older brother suggested to me and my younger brother that we make our own management game. Thinking was that we all played management games growing up and also played by mail. Hence the concept of Soccer Manager being born and developed during 2004. Just to think that's 20 years, 20 years ago, and launched the following year on soccermanager.com. Started off working from our dad's garage and bedrooms and grew from there in line with the game. We are heavily influenced by the play by mail games, and this is why SNW is turn based and players develop as they are. I've played this game since day one, and the club I manage now I've had since the summer of 2007. Just to think, I was 9 or 8 actually when he took over that club, and he's still there 17 years later. I'm a massive fan of the game. There are several of us in the studio who still play it and are in the same game worlds. I don't think there's anything like this game on the market after all these years. There isn't. And that's what makes it special for me.
I haven't
It's
come
about
across
squad
one.
building and using your own football knowledge. As someone who loves the game and still plays it, I'll give my two pence worth as a player. The core concept of the game is squad building and player development. Your football knowledge is key. That's what makes the game unique. I don't want to be able to train my players, build medical facilities, etc. That's a different kind of game. Don't change the fundamentals of that game. So basically, that would be something similar to Football Manager, LMA Manager for people who played it on the PlayStation back in the 90s, where you could do stuff like that. I want a nice modern interface for the desktop and a good app to accompany it. Now that is a major thing because, as we know, there is currently no app for this game because unless you get as an APK, because obviously the App Store and the iOS Store, if you don't update a game for 5 years, it gets removed. SM got removed in 2021 because of that. So currently, the only way you can play is actually on the web browser or by getting an old APK app. And then he mentions then, I'd like to see improvements to the matchday experience, perhaps an old school CM0102 style with it jumping into a 3D match engine for key highlights, more tactical options as well. Now, the idea of obviously,
I think I forgot to I forgot to actually sorry, excuse me. To name a point was I'm a fan of watching the 2D matches of every game what I play. I feel like it makes me enjoy the game a little bit. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes for each game to play
yeah,
out. But then when you are watching the 2D game, you see the ball hit the bar way lot of times. I mean, that shouldn't be happening in a real game, in a
no,
real match.
and you can,
I'm gonna go crazy if it was. So
and I don't know if you've ever
maybe
played. I don't know if you've ever played Football Manager, but obviously, if you play the 2D engine on the main Football Manager or on Football Manager Mobile, which is the 2D engine, it's so far different. Obviously, we're comparing Invincible Games and Sports Interactive, who are funded by Sega. Big difference in finances, but it is it's very weird. It can be very weird the 2D match engine, especially with how the ball moves about it. Sort of when it scores, when you score a goal, it sort of rebounds halfway across the pitch. I don't know if you've noticed that. Um, on the 2D match engine. It's something that needs to be tweaked and improved. But the idea of a 3D match engine would be cool. I mean, 2024 for God's sake. I mean, I think most things can do stuff like that nowadays, and have been for the last 10 years. So if we can get that on there, that would be brilliant. Um, what he also says as well, the transfer market is key to the game. Don't make too many changes that will rule what we have. However, I'd like to see more flexibility in what we can offer for players, and more so for longer serving managers in the game world. It's hard, for example, to offer a young up and coming player and transfer for a more established player due to their valuation. I'd like to be able to suggest a transfer to another manager. Also, be able to do more than 3 transfers with another club each season. That is something that needs to change. If you're a longer
yeah.
serving
That
member of the game world, how free agents work needs revisiting. It's potluck if you get them at the moment, as everyone just bids max value. That's another thing as well. Regarding about the youth players, it is very hard when you know you've got a like a generally talented youngster to sell them because people are scared to give their ratings away. For example, now obviously Triple J's got Yamal, and he says he will offer him out, or Jabil's got Mainu, and like they're going to be like, I think managers are going to be wary to do bids, but obviously, it's they are obviously players are probably in 2 3 years time going to be 90 something player ratings the way they're going. And obviously, it would be good if someone like them they could offer like a player plus a lot of money in cash because that would be what it would worth potentially long term and what it would cost pretty much in real life for a player that talented. Um, Another thing he does mention actually as well is, and this is important for us as well because this is what we would fall under. I don't play in custom game worlds, but know play of managers that do. They are so popular and have their own unique communities with Facebook groups. Now he doesn't mention WhatsApp, but he mentions Facebook, basically the same thing. Build on this, make the community central to the game world, allow more advanced rules for a custom game world, and for them to have more control and, more importantly, admin rights. Now, I know you're not an admin, but you know how hard sometimes it is when we've got
The managers out of their club.
a manager that doesn't follow rules, or, for example, what's his face? Um, Edmund Derry. He was basically at the end when he was at Leipzig refusing to cooperate, and we had to get SM. If say Scopa or admins using Scopa's account could, or if we could get permissions to other managers to remove a player, then that would long term be just brilliant. I mean, you just think how long it took us to get rid of Baby back in the day, Precious. We kicked him out of the group in. I don't think you were here then actually, but we kicked him out of the group in the October, and it took us till January for SM to remove him, and that was only because he was just a piece of shit, you know. But for us, as for me, Neri, Chiz, Jabril, Scopa, Jay, and Arjun as admins of the game worlds, if we could have the option to have more control on the SM side, that would help us so much. And also as well, if they can get advanced rules and they could implement the 30-man squad cap, that would save so much time having to look through um, everybody's
Violating.
squads.
Yeah.
I mean, today, 4 managers were above 25 in Maina. We just got to the point where we'd been humming and ahhing about it for a while. We're like, yeah, fuck it, we'll just put it to 30 players. Like the other two game modes, we've mentioned it for a while. It's worked out in the end because boosted the transfer market in that game mode. But yeah, it's stuff like that. If we could have an automatic system. I don't know, this might be a bit too complex, but an automatic system where we could say if your player goes to level 2 concerns, the computer automatically puts it transfer listed and then they go externally. That would help us, having to go message someone, hope they cooperate, and then it would help with the stress and it would help with the workload. It probably would cause admin redundancies, but if they could get some stuff like that, it would be brilliant. Um, Also, he says, I'm not a big fan of building facilities in your club off the pitch, but I'd like to be able to develop my stadium. Yes, I contradicted myself here, but I mean in more stadium building over medical centres, etc. Now that's a big thing because I know I mentioned it earlier, but in LMA, League Managers Association games back in the day on the PS1 and 2, you used to be able to build a new stadium or redevelop your stadium, and that was a key thing of the game. Even I don't know if you played it back, say 15 years ago, GJ, but in like Pro Evo 11, 12, you had the option of a stadium builder. I don't know if you remember that or if you played Pro Evo back then. And you could build a stadium for your team and not use whatever the stadiums on PES were called. Um, you know, not Town Court or Town Stadium or um, the Estadio del Andes or something like that, like it is in FIFA. But like there have been games where you can personally build a stadium yourself to your own design. And if say, and these are games that were around when SM was out, so this isn't like stuff that is like really like too advanced. There's stuff that have been around for you know 20, 25 years. So if they could introduce something like that, that would add a whole new dimension to the game because you could, all right, I've got the photo of the modern Bernabeu, which updated now for me at Real Madrid. But if I could design my own stadium for this game and game world, I mean, it would be brilliant. Um, and then find the last 2 points, possibly explore attributes for players so that it gives us more to think about when wanted to sign a new striker. This could tie in with improvements to the match engine. And then he mentions, would I pay X per month or year if the above was done? Hell yes. And that is with my gaming hat on. Um, anything from that you like the sound of, Judo?
No, no, I think that's all. But then all we have to do is wait to see which ones the developers comes up with first. 'Cause, I mean, I understand if they can't attend to every situation at the start, but we try to see which ones they start off with.
And as I've said previously in this call today, if you want stuff raised by them, you need to do that Google form because obviously that's what they're judging everything on. And obviously, if you're not happy about if people aren't happy about the public being a free manager and being restricted, you've got to raise your voice. And obviously, end of the day, I don't think they're going to be looking to, this game isn't going to become free forever. I think it's going to be a point now where, unfortunately, the money is going to have to be involved just to keep it afloat. Otherwise, it's going to die. But if you want anything regarding, you know, anything that you want the developers to raise, then you've got to raise it to them and obviously express your opinions and get out there. You can't sit still. Obviously, um, that was pretty much the main update that's happened. Obviously, this is probably going to be more me now with Gdo because he's not actually in mainland Africa. But the main season ended about 2 weeks ago. Obviously, um, Jibril won again. Um, Ian the Division One title. He pretty much is Pep farming us, camel farming us um, every year now. Obviously, I actually won Division Two, and Bojan won Division Three. Interestingly, Triple J said he was going to win the league and came bottom and got relegated. um, and Bami got relegated also to Division Two, as well as Rushini and Amakesh, who got relegated to Division Three, and Neri won the cup. Obviously, another thing that was regarding Maynard that happened today was the obviously the squad cap change, with that now increasing to 30 players, and it'll be interesting to see what happens now regarding transfers with teams. And then obviously in EMG Africa, we've got the running. There's 2 games left of the season. The season ending actually on Thursday, next Thursday coming up now. Um, it's pretty tight in all the game worlds, with Enyimba, Femzo's Enyimba being a point ahead of Senin's Mamelodi Sundowns in the title race in Division 4, with quite a few teams. Gorma here, Triple J's, Ruben, Dimi City's Petro, and the Mazembe manager all battling out for third. And Fizz has been relegated on 1 point, which is not really his fault, but 1 point still 1 point. Orlando currently unmanaged under Aslan account, and Irwin Matrix Agosto sitting in drop zone, with Jay currently in the final relegation spot, but in a three-way fight really for survival with MacD's Dynamos and Cotton Sport. And then in Division 2, Cal Bailey's of Santa Kotoko lead me by 2 points, with Neri sitting third. Um, Pretty much 3 points between the top three. And then Henry Bunmiaki's Plateau just 3 points behind Neri in fourth. they really need to win tomorrow, and hope one of me, Neri, and Cal slip up to with, keep their hopes of going up. And then obviously Jazz's Zesco and Real Bamako, who are now managed by Milton. They're in the drop zone with Lee Rashini and Lee Beaumont currently sitting also, but not relegated, and Bami's Dolphins just outside. And then finally in Division 3, um, Tom Joseph's Hearts of Oak lead Division 4. They need a point tomorrow to get promoted to Division 2 and probably a win to win the league. Jibril and Tenosh, then Isaac Mimosas and St George sit second and third, with Kiranjik, Bloemfontein and Celtic sitting fourth, and Ashanti Gold, managed by Birdseye, sitting in fifth. So yeah, quite a few, and obviously Jibril won the cup. So yeah, quite a few interesting battles going on in EMG Africa. Obviously, some of those teams are going to be in the Connect Cups coming up in July. So obviously, they're going to give them and the main teams are going to give some good competition to the EMG Africa and EMG. Well, sorry, the EMG main and EMG Africa teams are going to give some good competition to the Elite Managers Game World main world teams and Division 4 sides in those game worlds in the Connect Cup. Sorry. So obviously it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the last two games. Let's go to let's go back. And on obviously finally, have you got any predictions for the rest of the main world season, Gide? Do you think anyone specifically is gonna you feel that might get promoted or might get relegated?
No, not really, not really, not exactly. But I guess we'll find out in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think I think this I think I think some managers I think are gonna finish where they currently are now, and I think some managers um, might need to worry a bit. I think I do worry a bit for Lille in Division One. I think I think the league's a bit too strong for them. And Monaco, I know they won recently, but they've not been very good. And yeah, I also worry a bit for Neri, not because of relegation, but with that Barcelona team, him sitting in a 10th in a Cup Winners' Cup spot, that team definitely should be doing better. And it's a bit comparable to Man United in real life, but being in the third tier tournament for Neri um, is probably not going to be the best look. Um, and he would probably have to win that to even be in it, especially with his squad he has. Um, yeah, that's probably. I mean, Uche as well is also not having a good season, but he's qualified for the Champions Cup, so sort of saved himself by winning it last year. Um, right, let's go to the manager questions. Let's have a look. Right, so the first, these are anonymous, so we don't know who they're from, but we'll probably get a bit of a gist from who they were from. So the first one is, are we heading to the Harambe direction? Lately, more teams have started to play defensive football. Um, Babajide, do you think more teams are playing defensive than previously? I mean, I've always played defensive, but have we noticed an increase of defensive football, or as some people call it harambol, in EMG?
Yeah, I mean, recently with Lazio, I think for the last two, three, 4 games, I've played defensively consecutively. I occasionally play defensively, but not regularly. And I think generally most managers just play very attacking football actually. So if for the manager who has noticed such, I think it has to do with probably has to do with him playing against weaker teams,
Mm,
and maybe just maybe those teams felt like they couldn't take him on, and so they just went conservative with their setup. But I don't think there's any harm in it. I mean, defensive or around football is also a very tactical aspect of the game. In real life, we see it from Madrid constantly, stylishly. Arteta is beginning to deploy it with his Arsenal team in a very interesting low block sort of manner against the stronger side. So I think, yeah, if managers want to play defensively, why not try it? But I strongly doubt if it's going to get them far. I mean, you have to consider the fact that it won't always work, and would probably be stopping you from scoring enough goals as well. So if you want to play defensive football, you have to make sure you are outscoring your opponent. So
yeah,
on the admin part, I don't think anything could be done on that. You just have to get better as a manager technically to. I mean, that's part of the fun of the game. You have to find a way to get the better of your opponent. So yeah.
yeah. The only managers I know that solely play defensive football in this game world are uh, Jamal Triple J's Betis, Arjun at Dortmund, and me at Real Madrid. Other than that, everybody is either very attacking, um, no no concept of defense, or they're quite structured in what they play. Um, Again, it's tactical. I mean, it's a lot of managers. I mean, I just play very defensive at this point. You know, it works for me, gets me points, especially in this game world. But obviously, you know, it's people's personal choice of how they want to play. If it works for them, it works for them with their team. Um, Next question is talk about the relegation zone. Talk about the six teams to potentially relegate this season. Is there any particular team you think, six teams that particularly you think will get relegated this season?
In the first division,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, you look at the table right now. Bottom of the table is Lille. Lille has got 7 points. And interesting enough, Atletico Madrid is 7 spots ahead of Lille, but they only have 10 points more. Napoli is behind Atletico. Napoli was second as at the time of the first podcast of this game of
Yeah.
this season. Yeah, so if Napoli was second at that time, then that means Napoli has dropped more points than they've lost or that they've won. And Napoli is just sitting comfortable, yeah, in fact, in a very uncomfortable manner because they are just barely 5 points away from relegation zone,
Yeah.
behind above Milan. So I think it's going to be a tight score. It's going to be very, very difficult. Madrid is. I mean, I would just say you stick to your defensive focus. It's getting you results too. Why not?
Yep.
I don't see.
Um.
I see Wolves struggling. Wolves have only one game in the last six. Milan have won two in the last six.
Yep.
Lazio is 13th. We've won just one in the last six. So I don't think, in fact, up to Napoli, who is eighth, have only just won one game
Yeah.
in the last six as well. So the form of the bottom seven is very, very, very horrendous right now. So I mean,
Yep.
and it is match day 12 already. We'll be playing match day 13 tomorrow. The league is basically halfway. It's the peak right now. You better start getting the points now that you need them.
Yeah.
So I
Um.
think it's going to be a tight close score between Lille. I'm going to say Lazio, but I mean Lazio have been escaping relegation. Maybe this season might be their time after all. But I see a big club going down this season. Could be Arsenal, could be Lazio, could be Wolves, and could be Barca. But that is going to be if one of Milan, Lazio, or Napoli doesn't relegate. So I think we'll be seeing a big club dropping the division. So this is it.
Yeah, probably the biggest club previously to get relegated would have been Leipzig. Have been in Division One briefly and had some good seasons, but have also been relegated a few times. Probably my Villa, because they were also always seventh, eighth, competing with the big boys. Had a couple of bad seasons. Then you joined Lazio and we got relegated. Um, to me, I think Division One is probably Lille are gone. I just don't. They've not even won in the last six. They've 1 point, you know, in the last six. Their squad isn't good enough for Division One. I do worry for you a little bit, but I know Gift is someone who doesn't play his best squad and plays players he likes. And historically, he's always, when he's got to Division One, he's got relegated. I do think Milan will go down, but for me, that
Yeah,
final
I think
spot, for
there is
me,
one
that
chance
final
they do.
spot, I have a funny feeling it could be Arsenal. Uche has not been massively active. He's been active enough. He's within the 25 messages. That's one thing for WhatsApp. But he's obviously in Algeria working at the moment because he's moaning to me in DMs about it. But with their form this year, now they've won two. They've got 7 points in their last 6 games. It just feels like that team is, and I said this previously about Mönchengladbach, but they're having a great season. It just feels that that team, this Uche's Arsenal, he went all out last year, didn't get the title, and now it's going to be the consequences. I think
Yeah,
Jabril will stay
yeah.
up. I think Jabril's a bit of a relegation expert, especially the last couple of seasons. Neri will have way too much to not stay in the league. He, it might be a Liverpool and from a couple of years ago type of season where he's flirting with relegation, has a really bad year, and then stays up by the skin of his teeth. Maybe I don't know. But to me, Arsenal is just, you know, Napoli's also another one as well, saying they've just come up. But Arsenal, they just don't seem like a team that I feel if it's not this year, it might be next year. The way they've gone, and they've got a couple of players who could drop as well. You
And the funny thing is that team do not take easy now. That team have lost so much of their backup. I think he only has 23 players available in the squad. It's a good team. I don't think he's still in the cup game. He's no more longer in the cup game. I think that's a good thing for him actually. But then the squad is pretty thin. He took over a very good squad, a very decent
yeah,
one, and is having one of the strongest firepower in the league. I mean, you have Harry Kane, you've got Stanley, you've got Rashford. And in midfield, you've got an unforrated Gundogan, you've got Goretzka.
mm,
I mean, there's nothing stopping him for, at worst, being a mid-table club. Not that it shouldn't be in the situation of battling relegation. But it looks like his time is about up in Division 1, so he's going to struggle.
yeah. Going to Division Two. I think that Roma and Monaco especially, I think Roma might have a slim chance. Femza's just taken him over, but he hasn't won a
Uh,
game yet. They haven't even won in their last. Drawn four and lost two. 4 points out of 18 is
I
not
think
good
he
enough.
won his last game actually.
No, he didn't.
That
He
was the
hasn't.
first one.
No, I think he may have won a game in the cup, but he's not. He's not won a league game yet. But I think Roma and Monaco are gone. Um, for me, that third Division Two spot,
I think they are
I
gone
have
actually.
I have a feeling it could be Villa. Now that sort of upsets me a bit, saying I'm a former Villa manager, but um, Moses, Mr. IMJ, he has. I mean, Nick Clyde never did anything after I left Villa. Sort of stagnated them. Never built. Never tactically. That team should be competing higher up when he was there, and he just tactically wasn't improving the team transfer wise, and would
Then he
never
had to lose
tactically do
Bala.
anything. And he left because he was never going to reach the message count. And then Moses took Villa, and broke squad cap and sold Paulo Dybala externally, which was their big the big rating I signed when I was there. And yeah, I just think without Dybala, that Villa, that I think
I
Moses.
think I think for Villa, it is interesting to note that he actually only won his first two games of the season after selling the ball to external. So
That's
maybe
another thing.
that's a
I mean,
positive for him.
they
He just
it
needs
could
to
be
keep the run.
it could be because obviously the year I signed Dybala, I got relegated. So um, Saskid's also around there. Saskid should be doing a lot better with that Benfica team. I think that's been mentioned
I
in
mean,
quite
I
a few
mean, with
times.
Benfica,
I think for me, out of those, I think Sociedad will probably do fine. They've prioritised the cup. Man United have also prioritised the cup. I think both of those will be higher up the league eventually. Um, I have a feeling it's going to be Villa, and it's not a positive feeling, unfortunately. But I think Villa will take that third spot. Um, Leicester could be another option because Thomas Lehmann doesn't seem to improve his team. Doesn't do deals. Won't sell Madison. Um, Personal choice, but that's another one. But yeah, I think Villa are gone. Will be going up to Division Three, and then obviously there's no relegation in Division Three. But we will mention them. Ajax haven't won a game yet this season and have lost all six of the last six. Now they've had a change in manager. Obviously, Tom moved up from Division Four, bought Dybala, so that might help him. But yeah, Atalanta's also not having a great season, but Ajax are not doing well. So yeah. Anything else you want to mention?
no, no, really. But I'll be interested in seeing if the new Chelsea manager could get Chelsea promotion back to Division 2
Yeah.
and Bayern as well. I
Yeah.
mean,
Bayern.
they are both in playoff spot currently. I think
Hmm.
they stand a good chance ahead, and they are both 3, 4 points away from Lee's sports side. So I mean, they still have a decent chance for a run in the league title. And if they don't, I don't see any reason why they should be dropping out of playoff spots. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, Vinny did a good job at
couple points.
Atalanta with the squad he had previously when he was in EMG. So Chelsea, he's Vinny's going to just get guys who are young and potential to rise. If he doesn't go up next year or this year or next year, it'll be in the next couple of years. Bayern, Baraf has sort of been mid mid pack a lot of his time in Division Three. It is a bit of an older squad. Um, there is some potential lower rating wise that will eventually increase, but there is some good players there. I mean, Otavio's there. He's got Raul Albiol, who's 38, but um, yeah, that team could easily get to Division One, or Division Two, sorry, this season. It'd be interesting to see what Marseille do actually as well, Karthik. Um, they seem to be in good form. Leverkusen as well, who have been terrible for years. Favor Akmawadi seemed to have done a good job with them, building on what Rashini had, building all those tough years when he was there. Okay, I think that's all. Hopefully now, I think the next one will probably be in um, probably say another 3 weeks, maybe. That'll be the 8th of June. And then hopefully then that's, if you think of it, that's one,
All right.
two, three, 4, 5. That's 6 games away. So obviously we would be nearing the end of the main world season then. So obviously there's still a lot to go in the meantime. So thank you for being on. Shane Larry didn't join, but obviously he hasn't actually responded. So there's obviously something that's gone on. But yeah, hopefully everyone's enjoyed listening to this. And I'll speak to you soon, Judy.
And all right, man.
All right, have a good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah.